Alright guys, looking here, success criteria A, looking at substituting values into expressions. What we're doing here is we're looking at replacing a variable, so that's our x, y, z's, a's, b's, c's, in an expression with a value in order to evaluate what it's going to actually be equivalent to. Now, before we go on, we want to have a quick look at what an expression is and what an expression is not. This top example here, number 1, that is an expression. Number 2 is not. Okay, so as soon as we have the use of an equal sign, that one there is actually an equation, which is not what we're working with. We're starting with an expression. So down to question A, it goes on to say here that if A equals 2, we want to evaluate what 4A plus 3 is going to equal. Now, 4A is the same as writing 4 times A and then adding 3 onto the end. Now, 4 times A, we can rewrite that as 4 times 2 because we know that A equals 2. And then we're going to add 3 onto the end. 4 2 is 8, 8 and 3 is 11, okay? Don't forget with this that your order of operations might come into play at some point. If it does, we'll go through that. Question B, we've got a couple of different things here, so a couple of different things to substitute in. If A equals 2 and C equals 5, we then want to go and evaluate what 3A plus 2C take 3 equals. All right, so we know that 3A can be written as 3 times A, and we know that A is 2. So we're going to substitute the 2 in for where we see the A. Then we're going to add to that 2 lots of C. C is 5, and we're going to take 3. Now it's up to you how many lines you take after this. You can go and simplify the 3 times 2 to get 6, the 2 times 5 to get 10, and chuck that, subtract 3 at the end. 6 plus 10 is 16, take 3 will get me a result of 13. Down here to C, we've got some negatives coming into play here, so think back to some multiplying and dividing integers rules. All right, where the fact that if we have a positive multiplied by a positive, and this will pop up in later success criteria, our result is always going to be positive. If we have a negative times a negative, again, that's a positive outcome. The moment that our signs are different is when we start getting a negative outcome, and vice versa for this last one here. So really important to possibly just keep that in mind as we're working through this one here. Now 2D is the same as 2 times D plus 5 lots of E. All right, and again, you can skip that step and substitute straight in 2 lots of negative 3 because D is negative 3 plus 5 lots of 2 because E is 2. Now we look at each of these parts individually. We've got a positive multiplied by a negative here. So positive multiplied by a negative is this, and it's going to give us that negative outcome. So straight away, I can go, right, start of that first term is going to be negative. Then I can just look at 2 3's, which are going to get me 6. Second part, we want to add to that 5 lots of 2, which is 10. And we get to negative 6 plus 10, which will give us a result of 4. So a couple of things to be mindful of, guys, especially the use of these rules for multiplying and dividing integers as you work through some of those more difficult ones.